I'm your host, Sal Mercogliano. Welcome to today's episode. So it was only a matter of time until this happened, but an attack launched by the Houthis against a bulk carrier, Barbados flagged vessel, the True Confidence, has resulted in 2 missile hits on the vessel. 3 crew members have been killed, many others severely wounded. The ship is adrift in a fire in the Gulf of Aden. The crew has been evacuated by the Indian Navy. The INS Kolkata has been able to get the crew off and deliver them ashore in Djibouti. We're going to take a look at this story, break it down for you, and discuss the timeline of events of what happened and what this impact is going to be on global shipping. If you're new to the channel, hey, take a moment, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell. So I'm going to highlight 2 stories here for you. One is from Jonathan Sauls over at Reuters. Houthi attack turns deadly. In this story, Jonathan discusses the attack, the 2 missile strikes. We know there is 3 dead. There was also an armed guard detachment on board. Another story over at Lloyd's List, this one by Richard Mead. 3 crew confirmed dead, several more seriously injured as Houthi claim a second casualty. Both these stories are available for you to download and take a look at. This is an image of the vessel released by U.S. Central Command. The vessel was a bulk carrier sailing from China heading to Jeddah in Saudi Arabia on the west coast of Saudi Arabia in the Red Sea. The ship is Barbados flagged. Bulk carrier, she's carrying down in her cargo hold steel. So she's got steel plates and rails down. And on deck, you'll notice are what appears to be buses, large trucks, maybe rail cars. It's kind of hard to identify exactly, but these are oversized cargo. This is not unusual for bulk carriers to carry such oversized cargo. The ship was struck on the port side because it was sailing away from the Gulf of Yemen and into the Gulf of Aden. I'll explain why in a minute. You'll see that the missile struck right here. We believe it was 2 missiles. One appears to have hit further aft here, another one more up forward between the after cargo hold and the house. It is not unusual for missiles to strike like this. If they are radar guided, that's the largest part of the vessel that they would hit. And if they were using infrared, then they would be homing in on the ship's engine plant. This is a view from above. You can see the buses or vans, whatever these are, rail cars here. You can see the damage here on the port side of the vessel, and fire has swept across the house. Fire is inside the vessel. The superstructure here contains where the crew sleep, the galley, where they basically spend their time. Up on top of, obviously, this is the bridge, the wheelhouse where they pilot the vessel, and then down below, underneath all this, would be the engine space. Just after that would be the after machinery room, the rudder, and then forward are all these cargo holds. And the vessel is afire at this point. So this is a video posted on X at Indian Navy. You can see this is INS Kolkata. This is the same vessel, by the way, that was involved in the rescue on board the MSC Sky 2. There you can see True Confidence on fire. The crew had abandoned ship. They were not able to get the lifeboats out, so they used a life raft. I'm going to go ahead and let this play. I'm going to edit part of this video because there is some graphic images in it. However, I'll have a link in the show notes to the full video here. The interview with the ship's captain, the INS Kolkata's, the destroyer captain, said that they lifted 8 crew members out of the raft via their helicopter. However, they didn't get all the crew members out of the raft. They had to use their small boat because of injuries suffered by the crew. So the Indians, once again, showing their professionalism. They've been out there doing amazing work. Go back to Marlin Luanda, go back to MSC Sky 2, and now this effort right here has been really good. They provided not just rescue, but also immediate medical aid for the personnel on board. Here you see their rescue boats heading out to grab the crew members who are too injured to be moved by helicopter. This still frame in the video talks about the ship's crew after the rescue. 17 are depicted here. There were 20 on board the ship's crew, plus 3 in the armed guard for 23. So you're missing, obviously, the 3 who were killed and 3 who were probably most seriously wounded in this image. Video features an interview with the captain, and this is the captain of the Kolkata welcoming the crew members that he rescued ashore. Again, just a fantastic job by the crew of the Indian destroyer. I'll have the link in my show notes to the video I just did on Kolkata's work on MSC Sky 2. So we're also seeing new images come out about the Rubymar. These photos were posted just today showing Rubymar sunk in the Red Sea. This is the bulk carrier that had been hit by the Houthi and then abandoned and drifted northward in the Red Sea. The ship is actually sitting on the bottom of the Red Sea. Its bow is jutting from the water. This is because of the buoyancy and air pockets in the vessel. The vessel was only about 2/3 loaded with fertilizer, and now the bow is sticking up out of the ocean. Eventually, it is going to settle and go down to the bottom. Now, some interesting stories coming out as a result of this over in Lloyd's List. Bulk carriers divert in record numbers from the Red Sea to avoid Houthis. Bridget Dykin's been doing great analytics on this over at Lloyd's. The traffic of ships carrying minerals, grains, and ores are 35% below levels seen at the beginning of the year. We're seeing more and more bulk carriers go out. Interesting enough, another story, this one by Richard Mead, Sunken Rubymar's only UK link was its disputed insurance cover. This again links back to the issue that a lot of people are talking about, that these ships are being targeted because they're owned and operated by either Israel, the US, or the UK. Yet in the case of the Rubymar, the only link that existed was basically its insurance. Then this story by Dave Osler, Red Sea war risk rates are unmoved by Rubymar sinking. Ukrainian government subsidy scheme keeps lid on Black Sea pricing. So one of the big things is we expected with the sinking of Rubymar to see war risk insurance tick back up. I think it's just because it takes time for that to happen. We haven't seen it yet. I expect now with the sinking of Rubymar and now the deaths on board True Confidence to see that change. I'm going to walk you through a timeline of the sinking of True Confidence because I think it's really important to look at this and understand what the Houthi did in executing this attack. If you want a kind of a rundown on this, Focus CTV took my thread that I put on X and broke it down into an article, but I'm going to do it for you right here. So we're going to use marine traffic here. You'll see the track line of True Confidence coming in, again, coming from China, coming through the Gulf of Aden. She's in the traffic separation scheme. There are lanes that you follow because this sea is so narrow, especially when you come up out of the Gulf of Aden through the Bab el-Mandeb into the Red Sea. She's going to come to the right turn here, which all ships do, and setting course toward the BAM and heading in. Now, True Confidence is showing her AIS. She's not hiding her identity or who she is. She has her destination listed down as Jeddah. One of the problems that's out there is information about ships that are posted on a variety of different websites that are not always accurate. And that has been a problem because the Houthi are using information that at times is out of date. And this out-of-date information is causing fundamental problems with attacks against vessels. So I'm going to post these advisories. These are the advisories posted by the UK MTO. This is the United Kingdom's Marine Traffic Operations Office. And they post these advisories. So this is advisory 639. And this is for incident 045, 0001 UTC time on 6 March. Master issued this at 6 March at 2:35 UTC time. The UK MTO has received a report of a merchant vessel being hailed over VHF. This is the very high frequency radio that's used, in specifically all ships will monitor channel 16. That's the international hailing channel. For approximately 30 minutes by an entity declaring itself to be the Yemeni Navy, ordering the merchant vessel to alter course in the vicinity of 50 nautical miles southwest of Aden, Yemen. Vessels are advised to transit with caution and report any suspicious activity to the UK MTO. So, True Confidence was receiving warnings issued to them by the Yemeni Navy to basically veer off, to not proceed through these waters. And if you look at the track line at about 0001, True Confidence turned course. So if you look right here, this is the True Confidence. This is showing her time at 22:57. This shows it right here at 0000, and then this is her right here at 0014. And what True Confidence is doing is basically slowly merging back into the lane here to come back into position. You'll see it turned around. There's a ship in the track line. This is Sirius 1. Sirius 1 is heading away from the Bab el-Mandab into the Gulf of Aden. And True Confidence is doing exactly what True Confidence is supposed to do. When you enter into a vessel traffic separation scheme, you do it at a narrow angle. And so it is doing that. And so the vessel is proceeding on. Sirius is going a little bit faster, about 12 knots. True Confidence is doing about 10 knots. And it's slowing down just a little bit to kind of come in right behind it here. And what we see is True Confidence falls in behind Sirius 1. There's another ship here, the Sagar Violet, that's coming into position right here. And this is where the next alert comes in. Signal 641. Attack update. UK MTO has received a report of an incident 54 nautical miles southwest of Aden. Vessels in the vicinity have reported a loud bang and a large plume of smoke sighted. Authorities are investigating vessels, are advised to transit with caution, report any activity. There's a follow-on to this. Same thing. Merchant vessel in the vicinity is reported to have been hit and has suffered damage. Coalition forces are supporting. Vessels are advised to transit with caution, report any suspicious activity. Time right here is 02:16. And if we let it fly, you'll see True Confidence starts to slow down and then starts veering southward. And it's pulling out of the traffic separation scheme. This is great seamanship on the part of True Confidence. They're trying to get out of the lane, so not to be an issue. They're heading southward, but they are slowing down. And it appears that the message probably came from either Sirius 1 or Sagar Violet. Sirius 1 was the closest to the True Confidence. Sagar Violet was the one on the inbound lane coming out. This is why True Confidence, by the way, got hit on the port side, because she is turned around and was heading outbound at this time away from the area. True Confidence continues its southbound run and eventually starts to lose way, eventually will come to a complete stop as its engines go offline. And what we see here is True Confidence comes to a halt right around 0412 UTC time. The last notice issued by the UK MTO is this one on 6 March. Received a report, incident 54 nautical miles southwest of Aden, merchant vessel in position 11 degrees 55 42 north, 044 degrees 30 24 east have been hit and has suffered damage. The vessel has been abandoned by the crew and is no longer under command. Coalition forces are supporting the vessel and the crew. Vessels are advised to transit with caution and report any suspicious activity to UK MTO. If you pull up on marine traffic and you look at the last positions, this correlates exactly with this report. So a couple of things I want to make note of here that I think is really important. Go back to the original notice issued here by UK MTO. This is 639. The ship had been hailed for 30 minutes by an entity called the Yemeni Navy and told to turn around. True Confidence turned around. It was heading away. It abided by the call from the Houthi. It doesn't have to. Let's be clear about this. The Houthi have no authority to stop vessels transiting through an international seaway. This is what's called innocent passage under Article 19 of the UN Convention of the Law of the Sea, which Yemen is a signatory to, and nearly all the world's nations are, with the exception of the United States, because the U.S. has its head up its ass and won't sign off on this treaty. I don't know why. It has something to do with underwater mining rights, and the U.S. Senate can't agree to anything. But the U.S. agrees to abide by it, even though it's not a signatory. It agrees that the UN Convention of the Law of the Sea is the correct rules for operating out in the ocean. All ships are allowed to transit through there. Yemen has territorial waters out to 12 miles. It has an economic exclusive zone out to a certain area that's agreed on by treaty. However, it cannot shut the Bab el-Mandab, the Red Sea, and the Gulf of Aden to commercial shipping. It is the right of innocent passage. And yet, in this case, True Confidence, a Barbados-flagged vessel, turned around, sailed away and was still struck by two missiles that have resulted in the death of at least three mariners on board and seriously wounding three others. This is a breach of freedom of the seas, and I understand the background to what is going on. I know why the Houthi are doing this. I understand what is happening in Israel and Palestine and Gaza. I got it, understand it completely. But the three crew members on board this ship have nothing to do with that. And I know I'm not supposed to get political, and I'm probably going to get dinged on my video here and make it, no ads because I've said something here. But these crew was doing nothing wrong. They abided by what the quote-unquote Yemeni Navy wanted to do, and they were still struck by two missiles. And this is just an abhorrent action against mariners, in my opinion. And again, this is my opinion at all. I try to keep my opinion out of these things. But when you start killing merchant mariners who have nothing to do with these issues, then it kind of gets me a little riled up. So one of the issues here has to deal with ownership. If you looked at some databases about this ship, you may get the impression that this ship is owned by an American firm, Oaktree Capital. However, if you go over to Equus, which is a free database that you can use, you can pull up here and see that the registered owner for the vessel is True Confidence Shipping at 80 Broad Street in Monrovia, Liberia. The ship manager is 3rd January Maritime over in Piraeus, Greece, and the ISM manager is FML Ship Management. This is out of Cyprus. 80 Broad Street in Monrovia, Liberia doesn't exist. It is a false address. It is an address that I can't tell you how many companies around the world use. It is a shell address that is used by shell corporations. It is not unusual in the shipping industry for ships to basically incorporate overseas, especially in Liberia, so that they can be protected from all these issues associated with prosecution and lawsuits. And so this is a shell company. Understand the Liberian flag registry is located in Virginia. It's just outside Dulles Airport. And you will never figure out who owns this ship. No one's going to come forward to it. If it's not an American company, it's probably a Greek company that owns it. You just won't know. This is the statement that was issued by the ship owner and the manager. Barbados flag vessel has a crew of 20 comprising 1 Indian, 4 Vietnamese, 15 Filipinos, and 3 armed guards, as we talked about. True Confidence was on passage from China to Jeddah and Aqaba with a cargo of steel products and trucks. The vessel is owned by True Confidence Shipping SA and operated by 3rd January Maritime Limited Piraeus. There is no current connection with any U.S. entity. And again, I come back to that. There's no connection for this. The Houthi attacked a vessel that met its requirements. The ship was warned off, it turned around, it was heading away, and then the Houthi shot it in the back and killed 3 mariners on board. And I think that is just an amazing. I don't have words for this right now. I really don't, because you literally shot the ship in the back, and it was sailing away, and it had met all the requirements it wanted to do. Even though it's not connected to the U.S., it's not connected to the United Kingdom, it's not connected to Israel, and it is once again another example of how the Houthi are targeting ships that have no connections. Now, they can make the argument, which I know exactly what they're going to do next, is make the argument, well, it was delivering cargo to Saudi Arabia. Well, there's tons of ships sailing through there all the time, delivering cargo to Saudi Arabia they don't attack. And what this is doing is raising up the contention and the issue that the seas are no longer going to be free. And matter of fact, over at the TPM conference this past week, TPM is a Trans-Pacific Maritime Conference. It's hosted by the Journal of Commerce and SP Maritime. Former Secretary of Defense Robert Gates was there, and this article over in Lloyd's List by Tomer Renan talk about this. Shipping faces new reality, wars, protectionism, and threats to freedom of navigation. Relatively relaxed environment in which shipping has operated is likely a thing of the past, warns former CIA Director and U.S. Secretary of Defense Robert Gates. And this is something we've talked about a lot. I highlight all the time Bruce Jones's book, To Rule the Waves. This is a book that talks about the idea that we're starting to see areas of the ocean, not all of it, but areas of it, begin to break down. You're no longer going to have this idea put forth by Hugo Gratis way back in the 1600s of freedom of the seas. Instead of open seas, we're starting to see closed seas. And the Red Sea, the Bab el-Mandab, and the Gulf of Aden is an example of this, where we're seeing a sea being closed by a faction in a civil war in the southwestern corner of the Arabian Peninsula. And I think this has huge ramifications for the world, for global economy, and most importantly, for global shipping. All right, a dour story, a lousy story, but one I think that needed to be covered. I know no one enjoyed this video, and I didn't enjoy filming the video, so there we go. So if you can, subscribe, like, thumbs up, whatever you want to do with the video. This video, I am almost guaranteed, is not going to be monetized because of the fact that I mentioned the Houthi in here. So if you can, try to support the page if you can. You can do that by giving it a thumbs up. You can share it across social media. You can contribute to the page by hitting the super thanks button, or head on over to Patreon and become a patron of the page, either monthly, yearly, or one time a year. Until our next episode, and thinking about the crews sailing in this region, and especially the families of the 3 merchant mariners who died. Sal, signing off.